Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a part of our community, head on over to missionmatters.com/community to apply. All right, so today's a special episode. I have on Dana Samuelson, who is the founder and president of American Gold Exchange, also known as AGE. Dana, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Adam. I'm happy to be here with you.
All right, Dana. So I'm excited to get to learn more today about AGE and really the work that you're doing in the precious metals and rare coin industry. But before we get into all of that, I'd like to start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we call our Mission Matters Minute. So Dana, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Dana, what mission matters to you?
Well, I am a precious metals advocate. I believe everyone should own some gold and silver as a hedge against inflation and financial uncertainty. Studies show that having 6 to 8% of your assets in precious metals offers both a hedge against uncertainty and financial risk without taking too much opportunity from other investments at the same time. And most people don't understand precious metals because we don't have a precious metals history or culture in our country like many other countries around the world do, specifically in Asia and in Europe, where primarily the driving force behind it is because currencies have collapsed over, a 100-year period. Almost every major civilization has seen their currency falter at some point in time. And we have never had that in the U.S., which is why we don't have a precious metals culture. So my mission is to help people understand these markets, to help to educate them, and to help them find the right products for what they're trying to accomplish. It's not that complicated, but it's like learning a foreign language almost for some people. So I'm a translator.
I love it, and I like to kind of start from the beginning with these things. How did you get started? Like, what got you into the precious metal industry?
Well, back in 1980, I graduated college with a degree in German, and I was completely unhireable, like most college graduates in 2009 were, because of similar economic circumstances. We had gone through the highest inflationary period we had seen at that point in time, the late 70s. The economy was in a shambles. Interest rates were sky high, but gold and silver prices had skyrocketed. And I ended up getting a job working in a vault, counting, shipping, and weighing a volume of gold and silver because I could be trusted to handle the merchandise. So I literally started at the kitchen sink. I did that for 2 years, and I ended up getting my lucky break, was going to work for Jim Blanchard, who was the man most responsible for the private re-legalization of gold ownership in the United States in 1974. So up until from 1790s all the way to 1933, gold was currency in our country, and then they took the gold out of the currency. But the dollar was still backed by gold until 1971, and that's what enabled the dollar to become the world's reserve currency following the end of World War II. But then Richard Nixon was forced to take us off of the gold standard in 1971, and at that point in time, Jim Blanchard understood that the dollar would lose purchasing power, so he lobbied and led a grassroots movement to have private ownership of gold re-legalized, and that's what happened in 1974. And when people asked him, well, where do we buy this? He said, well, I'll sell it to you. So he started a national mail order precious metals company kind of by default. And by 1980, due to sky high inflation and interest rates and precious metals prices, he had the largest mail order precious metals company in the country. And I went to work for Jim in 1983, and I went up the ladder with him, became his senior buyer. And by the mid to late 80s, I was spending millions of Jim's money every year with the industry buying products for stock. And I got to meet all the major industry players. And today, some of my friends from back then run U.S. Mint distributorships here in the U.S. where they buy directly from the mint, millions a month. I wanted to have a small boutique company where we helped individual investors, and that's what we do. So I could have a much larger business, but I wanted to have something that was smaller, more manageable, and that gave personal service to people. So I've just been lucky break, lucky timing. I've painted myself into a golden corner. This is all I really know how to do well. So I'm sticking with it.
Oh, what a great story! And you're old school. Like you want to go back and you work with some legends there. I mean, in terms of like this the history of gold. So I think the reason I bring this up is because I think it's interesting to have someone like you on the show who's seen so many different facets of the market, and you're a real student of it. So meaning you say this is all you know. I believe you. Like you live this stuff. So me asking you the next question, I feel has a little bit more, a lot more relevance than asking, let's just say, the novice or somebody that's tinkering a little bit or just starting out. But that being said, so my background, Dana, just a little bit is, and for my long-term listeners, you already know this, but so I was in finance almost 14 years. So prior to being in media, now 7 years. But that being said, when it came to like a big topic we would talk about would be diversifying a portfolio, right? Like you don't want to have all your investments in one particular sector or industry or possibly even vehicle. So maybe let's a little basic and maybe talk a little bit about like that concept of diversifying with physical metal, because that's what you're dealing with, right? You're not necessarily dealing with the ETF side of things or other ways that maybe people can have some exposure, but we're talking actual metals, right?
Yes. So I'm a physical precious metals dealer. That's all I've really been my entire 43-year career, is handling the physical product, whether it's modern minted coins and bars that are made by sovereign mints or refineries today, or some of the vintage old gold coins and silver coins that go back, to the 1930s or all the way back to the late 1700s, made by the U.S. Mint. And I'm also pretty familiar with European gold coins that were minted from the 1800s all the way to just after World War II. Most of the gold went out of the currency by then. So I'm a physical expert, and I recommend if people want to own precious metals, there's a couple different ways you can do it physically. You can own ETFs, but that's really a way to trade price movement on paper cost effectively, or you can own shares of the companies that actually mine the gold in the ground, but that's a speculation on how well that business will perform in addition to whether the gold and silver prices go up or down. So the physical precious metals tend to be the safest of these three because you take your money and you can get it out of the dollar, which is losing purchasing power. We went through a 10-year period where inflation was low and you really didn't feel it. But when we go through a phase like we've been through the last couple of years where inflation rears its ugly head up and becomes quite strong, suddenly that $20 stake becomes a $30 stake. Remember, I live in Texas. And, you feel it. And gold and silver help to protect your purchasing power. So owning physical gold and silver is a way to get some of your dollars out of dollars and into something that's more stable and should appreciate at a faster rate or help you at least hold your purchasing power.
Like, so if somebody's listening to this, they've never, purchased physical gold, they're considering it. Obviously, at the end of this, I'm going to give you the opportunity to leave your website and other things so that people can connect and learn more about AGE. But just in general to start, like, how do people find reputable dealers? Like, what kind of questions should they be asking?
Well, the internet is a great way to search, but we do have bad actors and opportunists in our marketplace because we're unregulated. So I would tell people to look for dealers that have been in business for as long as you can find it, as long as possible. And I would say 20 years or longer, because if they've been in business that long or longer, they've seen lean times. So they know how to run a business properly. Following the great financial crisis and again after COVID, gold and silver prices took off and a lot of opportunists have come into our marketplace. So number one, look for long-standing dealers. Look at customer reviews or customer complaints. You can check the Better Business Bureau. You can check some of the other ways to see whether a company's treating their clients well. And if you see any negative complaints, there's plenty of choices out there. Just don't go there. Use your common sense. I'm a member of the Professional Numismatists Guild, and numismatist is just a fancy word for someone who studies coins. And the Professional Numismatists Guild is the leading organization of rare coin dealers in the country, and a lot of us also do precious metals. As a member of the P&G, I voluntarily subject myself to binding arbitration so that if I had a dispute with you over a transaction, Adam, you could actually, instead of suing me in court, could go to the P&G at no expense to yourself, and I would be judged based on the fundamental facts in front of a jury of my peers who would come to the decision that's the right decision for whatever happened. So it's a way to, we tend to vet ourselves and to run our businesses properly because of this. And we're the leaders in our marketplace. So I would also encourage people to look for a member of the Professional Numismatists Guild, P&G, as a way to find someone who's reliable and trustworthy. And there's about 400 active members around the country today.
Can you talk a little bit about the products just in general? Because especially if somebody's listening to this and they haven't necessarily invested directly in the precious metal, that it may be a little foreign to them. So translate for us today, Dana.
Okay. So when you buy gold, you typically can buy it in 1 ounce, what I would call coin form, which is simply a round bar made by a sovereign mint, and by sovereign I mean a government mint, or you can buy literally square bars that refineries make. And there are 5 or 6 world sovereign mints around the world today that make precious metals coins, 1 ounce coins. The U.S. Mint makes 1 ounce gold eagles. The Royal Canadian Mint makes 1 ounce gold maple leafs. There's the Austrian Mint, the South African Mint, the Australian Mint, the British Royal Mint. These all are countries that make 1 ounce gold and silver coins. They're just round bars, basically. And I do advocate people stay in these specific sectors, the sovereign minted 1 ounce coins, primarily from the U.S., Canada, and Austria, over refinery-made bars, which are simpler in design and plainer looking. And the reason I advocate this is because we have a modest but growing problem with Chinese counterfeits, fraudulent bars that are much easier to replicate the design of than coins are, which are struck by dies and have actually all the major mints have incorporated design elements that are intricate, tiny little details into their coin designs that make it much harder for the Chinese to knock off. So if you deal with a reputable dealer who's been in business a long time and you stick with the mainstream, competitively priced and widely traded sovereign minted gold and silver 1 ounce coins made by these mints, I mean, you'll avoid 99% of the potholes you can step into in the process. And so that's what I advocate.
And talk to me, give us maybe a little bit of an update on just what's going on in the industry in general. Like I don't follow it, but I know what's going on with that. I know what's going on with that steak you just mentioned, man. I'm hurting in LA right now. I'll tell you, it is. You can't step. I think to step on the sidewalk, they charge you $100 now. You can't leave the house without spending $100 or more. So maybe just talk a little bit about the industry and kind of what you're seeing.
Well, I know it's crazy times we're living in. Well, basically, the gold and silver markets are, as a dealer, we tend to be in kind of feast or famine situations. When the economy's doing well, when inflation's low, when the stock market's doing well, when everybody has a job, we tend to be out of favor because gold and silver are the currencies of last resort. They're the ultimate money that people can trust when things go crazy. So when we have situations like the great financial crisis, 2008, 9, 10, or the debt explosion that followed the COVID economic closures here in the U.S., where our debt went up, 30% in a couple of years. We're now to $34 trillion in debt. We see a lot of demand shifts. We can go from very low demand to very high demand when these things change. So we've been through an extremely high demand phase from the advent of COVID in March of 2020 all the way through this summer of 2023 into the fall. Things have been a little bit quieter. Gold tends to be priced around the globe in dollars. So when the dollar is strong, it tends to make gold more expensive in other currencies where most of the gold around the world is bought and consumed. Asia consumes about 8 times the gold that the U.S. does. Europe consumes about 2 to 3 times the amount of gold that U.S. does on an annual basis. So demand for gold here is lower than in other places. And when the dollar gets strong, which happens when our economy is good and everything's stable, the gold price tends to be lower here in the U.S., but higher in other countries. So that tends to affect things as well. Right now, we've seen this tragic war between Israel and Hamas blow up, and the gold price was getting pressured lower, and now it's rallied about 5, 6, 7% in just the last 2 weeks on the back of the fear and uncertainty over this whole blow up in the Middle East, which is tragic. But that's what happens. Gold tends to climb a wall of worry, so it's doing that right now. That's something I've learned to live with decades ago. That's just the way our business can be sometimes.
Yeah.
So when everybody's happy, we're a little sad, and when everybody's sad, we're a little happy as business.
Yeah. And for context, just for everybody, because we're recording this on October 23rd, 2023. I just always like to throw that out there so that the audience knows that you know your stuff. If they look and some things change, hey, when the day they recorded, it was on, right?
Right. Right. Exactly. Yep. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, Dana, I just have to say, first off, thank you for coming on the show today and sharing more about your experience and also giving us some education and your translation services into the precious metals market. Really appreciate that one. And if people want to follow up and they do want to learn more about American Gold Exchange, also known as AGE, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, our website is our best place to look. It's amergold.com. We have a live, transparent pricing. We feature on the site items that are, as I said, widely traded, competitively priced, mainstream items. And the reason we do this is so if people buy something from us and they want to sell it somewhere else in the future, all the items that we offer are immediately liquid to any reputable dealer. We don't deal in weird esoteric items. You can buy a silver skull out of the Caribbean, but very few people are going to want to buy that from you. So we stay on the main road. So our website is really it's rich in information. We put out a daily gold market update, which explains what's happening in gold today. We put out a quarterly gold market update, which explains the forces that are pushing the metals around up and down and what's impacting them. So I would ask people if they're interested just to go to our website, and there's a place there where you can sign up for our email alerts if you'd like to do that.
Wonderful. And we'll be sure for the audience, we'll definitely put the links to the website in the show notes and also in our blog and all that good stuff. So you can just click on the links and head right on over to amergold.com. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters or engaging in an episode, we're all about bringing on business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and having them share their mission, the reason behind their mission. Why do they do what they do? And what can we all learn from that so that we can all grow together, which is the point of this platform, so that we all grow together. If that sounds like an interesting experience or content to you, we welcome you. Hit that subscribe button because we have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Dana, really appreciate you coming on. Thanks again.
Thank you, Adam. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate it.
All right, Dana. So we will cut the audio there. Oh man, this is good. This is a good interview. I know you know how to talk, how to do your stuff, but it's a great your story, how you got involved, all of that. I'm like, man, yeah. So you are one of the pioneers in this. You've been doing this for a bit. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm old school now. I didn't used to be, but I am now.
Oh man, I can't. That's it's awesome though. I see it and I love. It's rare to meet. I'm in awe because it's rare to meet somebody that sticks with their niche and just goes deeper into it. You know, it's rare to meet like true experts in their fields. In my opinion, it's very rare. And I've interviewed over 6,000 people, and it's just
oh,
rare.
wow.
That's why I was a little awestruck when you said. I was like, wait a minute, how long? Wait, and I don't mean age. I'm not talking about age. I mean the fact of who you learned from and then how you grew up through this industry. I feel like you're a pretty rare breed. I could be off, but I've interviewed other people. You're a rare breed. This is awesome.
Well, I hope I can stick around a while for you.
Come on.
Thank you.
Well, just so you know, next steps on my end, my team's going to do all the editing and all the good stuff they do there, and this should be live. I think within the next 2 weeks. I'm looking at the production calendar. When it is live, you'll get an email from one of my assistants. And if you have any questions or need anything else, just feel free to hit the reply button, okay?
Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate it. You've been wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great rest of your week. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, you too. Good luck. Thank you.
Thanks.